Welcome back to Danielle O'Terry's Italy. This is a podcast for thoughtful travelers who want to experience Italy with depth, curiosity, and cultural perspective. Starting this week, I'm introducing a new Q&A style episode where I'll answer your questions about Italian travel, culture, history, and all of the little things that social media glosses over. Now, these episodes will alternate every other week with my more narrative-driven story episodes, which I know that you love, and that make me very happy to create. And I'm doing this because I'm doing all the stuff myself. The recording, the editing, scheduling the interviews, and producing a full story episode each week is impossible. I've tried. I can't do it. So I would rather slow down the pace than lower the quality. But I still want to stay in touch with you every week. And so these Q&A episodes give me a chance to stay connected with your questions. So let me ask you this. If you value this work, would you consider becoming a paid subscriber? Your support will help me to hopefully eventually hire production help so that I can do more of the research and the storytelling and the interviewing and a little less audio production that eats up half of my week and I'm not that good at anyway. Also, if you want to ask a question for a future episode, just open up the voice memo app on your phone, record the question, try to keep it under 60 seconds, and then email it to me at danielle@danielleoterry.com. You can include your name, you can stay anonymous. It doesn't matter. It's totally up to you. Now, let's get to this week's questions, which were asked via Instagram. Question 1. You've said Cilento is a great alternative to Amalfi, but why does everyone still talk about Amalfi and not Cilento? I believe you, but I'm not convinced. This is a great question. And I love actually the way it was framed. Thank you for your honesty. And you're right. So the answer is simpler and more commercial than most people realize. So you know how all of those places you see online over and over again, Positano, Amalfi, Florence, Venice, it's not a coincidence. The places that dominate your Instagram feed and show up in every top 10 Italy destinations article, those are the ones that are supported by what's called a commissionable network. That means they have hotels that pay travel agents commissions, and they have tours, lots of them, that are listed on affiliate-friendly platforms like Viator and Get Your Guide, and where agents and influencers can earn a cut of every booking. They've got a corporate infrastructure, glossy marketing, and most importantly, the capacity for volume. So even though there are many very, very high-quality places in locations that are less popular, because they don't have the capacity for volume, you're not going to be seeing them show up in those commissionable networks. So that's why you don't see a lot of Cilento. For one, it's part of a national park. There are no cruise ships, there's no mass tourism, and there's no volume-based economy. You've got real villages, local hospitality, and natural beauty that is protected by law. Now, Amalfi's gorgeous, and I'm not going to tell you not to go to Amalfi, but it's expensive. And unless you're doing it at the 5-star level, which is awesome, it can be really stressful. So if you want the luxury resort experience, go for it. Amalfi is gorgeous. But if you want something more grounded, if you want beautiful beaches, simple food that tastes like Nonna made it, and quiet evenings in the small piazzas, that's Cilento. And here's the thing. Most people just don't know about Cilento. It's just not on the influencer circuit. It's not in the commission funnel. So if an influencer recommends a hotel with a link for you to click on, if you're going to Amalfi where there's a ton of volume, they get money from that click. There's just not a lot of volume in clicking on Cilento. So that's why I really try to focus on these lesser known places. If you've been following me, you know that I've recently introduced the Destination Deep Dive. This is going to be a monthly feature, and the very first one for the month of June was Cilento. And I'm going to do the next one on Florence, and I'll be focusing on other destinations that are very off the beaten path, like Cilento, and then very on the beaten path. But in all instances, I will be pushing you away from those commissionable networks that really drive over tourism. Now, I also want to say there's nothing wrong with a commission-based business. I'm not criticizing that. It's not nefarious unto itself. However, right now, there's a big problem with over-tourism, and these commissionable networks are part of the problem. So there needs to be a wider awareness of why these places are so darn popular. If the destination deep dive is something you value, if you want a little bit more meaning in your trip, I'd love to have you as a subscriber. Back to Amalfi versus Cilento. So if you really just want those Instagram moments for a day, you can do Amalfi from Cilento, especially if you're staying in the town of Paestum. Or you could book a full day car tour with a local driver who can really help you get in and out of the crowds with more ease. Cilento gives you the beauty without the chaos, the food without the pretense and the crazy high prices, and time to be with yourself in Italy. And I think that's the kind of Italy that people really want. They feel like they're going to miss out because their neighbor who doesn't know much about anything seems really, really sure that Positano is the place that they must go. But they don't necessarily know where to find the real Italy. And let me reassure you, it's Cilento. Question 2. My flight lands in the morning and I can't check into my Airbnb until the late afternoon. Tell me what I should plan for that first day. You should plan exactly nothing. Now, you can have things in mind in terms of things that you would like to see that do not require reservations and, most importantly, do not require paid tickets. Now, the number of people who are sure that they're going to be able to power through the jet lag, 100% of people think they're going to be just fine, and it's just not the case. Listen, I do it all the time. I sometimes can sleep on the flight, even when I can sleep on the flight. You are really tired and disoriented, and even if you're energized for those first couple of hours when you land, if you're all of a sudden in a long line for the Coliseum, and you just go down fast when you have jet lag. So, first of all, if you haven't planned your trip yet and you're staying in an Airbnb and you know that your flight gets in very early, maybe you want to reconsider and stay in a hotel on night 1, because with a hotel, at least you're able to leave your bags and then maybe your room will be ready and you can check right in. Now, if you're definitely not able to check in, I'm going to suggest something that you'll probably be surprised to hear me suggest, since I usually advocate getting away from the touristy experiences. But that double-decker bus tour when you land at 7 a.m. and can't check into your hotel until 3 is a godsend, because you can just book it usually at the airport when you arrive. You can buy the ticket right there. There's always a tourist desk, or at the train station to wherever you are arriving. You can bring all your big bags with you, sit down, and enjoy the ride. If you're tired, close your eyes and zone out. If you're awake, pay attention, listen to the tour guide. You'll see all of the sights going by. And it will give you the opportunity to get to know the city while you're probably still in a bit of a fog, but that's fine. And it's a really good way to use the morning. Now, of course, walk, wander. If you want to go ahead and make a dinner reservation, I'm okay with that. But really, make day 1 light and easy. You want to try to take a nap somewhere in the middle of the day, really no more than 90 minutes. You don't want to overshoot. Get up, have dinner on Italian time, go to sleep on Italian time, wake up, have coffee on Italian time the next day, and really consider day 2 the official beginning of the trip. Question 3. I'm nervous about renting a car in Italy. Do I really, really need one? Can I do everything on the trains? I've heard that the trains in Italy and in Europe are amazing. So the answer is, it depends. The trains are amazing if you are connecting only to cities. So that means Turin, Genoa, Florence, Venice, Rome, Naples, Salerno. There are other cities that connect to trains, like Bari, like Reggio Calabria. Those more likely to be late, but yes, you can get to those places via train. And of course, there are regional trains, and there's a mix. A lot of those regional trains are for Italian commuters that are going to places in between the cities or to the smaller cities. But if you're going to visit much of southern Italy, you really will need a car. And the other place where people assume they won't need a car, but they definitely do, is Tuscany. Tuscany is beautiful rolling countryside. You can take a train to Siena, you can take a train to Cortona, but if you want to see that characteristic Tuscan countryside, if you want to go wine tasting, then you're really going to need to rent a car or hire a driver. So, for example, say you're staying in Florence and you want to just do a day in the Tuscan countryside, definitely invest in hiring a driver so you can go wine tasting and not worry about having to drink and drive. Just enjoy the day. If you really want to get out and explore the countryside, in between, if you want to drive around Emilia-Romagna or the Langhe Valley or anywhere in southern Italy, with the exception of the Naples area, which you can do on the train. And I mean Naples, Pompeii, Capri, Ischia, ferries and trains will get you all around that area very easily. But if you want to get into Cilento, Calabria, Puglia, especially, you definitely need a car in Puglia. You're going to need to drive. Now, a lot of Americans assume that Italians drive on the opposite side of the road. That's not true. It's only in the UK that they drive on the right side, left side, whatever, the opposite side that we do in the United States. Renting a car in Italy is the same as renting a car anywhere. You'll find all of the big rental agencies like Avis, Hertz, Budget. If you have a credit card that has some sort of a deal with one of these companies, very often they do. I know American Express works with Hertz. Then you should definitely use those and prioritize points or maybe insurance options that you already have with those credit cards. Of course, this is something that you can book entirely online. The cars which are automatic are far more expensive than manual transmission. So if you are able to drive a stick shift, go for it. You'll save a lot of money. Another hack that I have learned recently that I don't expect to last forever, but is still very much the case now, is renting an electric car. I go to Italy and stay for long stretches of time, and having a rental car is a big expense for me. And so I've been renting electric cars. They're brand new, they're beautiful, and finding electric charging stations is pretty easy. One of the cars that I rented was a Polestar, and it had a fantastic app within the car that identified where the nearest charging station was, if it was a slow charge or if it was a fast charge, and it really helped me to strategize my route. I had that car when I was driving from Cilento to Tuscany, which was about a 5-hour drive, and I was definitely going to need a full charge in between. And it identified exactly the place where I could stop to charge the car for 45 minutes to complete the rest of my trip. I was also surprised driving around many places in very, very rural, sparsely populated southern Italy that I found to charge the car. So that is another way to save some money. As far as the driving itself, Italian highways are smooth. The biggest problem is Google Maps, really, and specifically when it suggests that you get off of a highway to go down some cow path to save you 3 minutes. So if you're traveling with somebody, really have somebody else monitoring the route to make sure that you're not going off the road just to connect back to the highway in a few minutes. It's just much better to stay on the highway because some of those little local cow paths, as I like to call them, can be rather rustic. There was one that I went down in the area of Irpinia where I literally cut through private property, had to wait for a couple of goats to go by. There was a small, I'm going to call it a brook that I had to traverse. It was ridiculous, really, to save 3 minutes on Google. So prioritize the highways. I would not drive in Naples itself. I am a crazy New York City driver, and I still don't want to drive in Naples. And generally the hack for avoiding cities, even less chaotic ones like Florence, is to pick up and drop off your rental car outside of the city, often at the airport. So for Naples, for example, the car rental at the airport is literally feet away from the entrance to the highway. It's so easy. So it's very much worth it for me to take a taxi from wherever I'm staying in Naples or the train station, 20 or 30 euro tops, depending on how much baggage I have with me, to get to the airport and pick up my rental car there. And then I'm right on the highway. And there's actually a really good pastry shop right near the entrance to the highway near the Naples airport. So it's a very easy way to avoid also what are called ZTL zones, which are the pedestrianized only zones within the city. So if you're picking up a rental car in Rome or in Florence in order to head out, do so a bit outside of the city or at the airport. The way you can design these trips is to focus your time in a city by staying in the city and then rent the car strategically for your day trips or for the days that you cluster outside and beyond the city rather than mixing them up. If you're comfortable driving in Italy is just fine. I would say the one thing to know about Italian drivers is they do tend to tailgate. Now, my father was a New York City bus driver, and part of his job was also to train the new drivers, which is to say, when he taught me to drive, it was intense. And as a consequence, actually, I was the only kid that my friends' parents trusted to drive. So this is all to say, I am a confident driver. And one of the lessons, the best lesson that my dad taught me when learning how to drive was let others do the driving. So you maintain your speed, you stay in your lane, you drive where you need to go at the speed you need to go. If somebody wants to tailgate you, let them do it, let them pass you, don't get flustered. And that advice has served me very well on the Italian road. Thank you so much for listening. As I said earlier, if you have a question, record your voice with the Voice Memos app on your phone. Send it to me via email, Danielle@danielleoteri.com, and I'll answer it in the next Q&A.